Did you know that one amazing scene caused Soul Train, the famous show that defined a whole generation, to be canceled for good? Fans were heartbroken, and this shocking event changed the history of TV. This article will describe the famous show that ended Soul Train and the chaos that followed behind the scenes. Soul Train brought Black youth culture to America every Saturday morning for an hour for 35 years. Soul Train, which advertised itself as the coolest train ride in America, was where new music, dance, hair, and fashion styles were first seen. It was a very important way for Black artists to get their music heard from the 1970s to the 1980s, when it first started. In the 1990s, it had brought several acts to the attention of the whole country. The public learned how to dance, dress, and make songs through this form of popular culture. Behind the hypnotic music, sparkling lighting, and magical acts, Soul Train was a groundbreaking show about what it means to be Black. It started during a time of great turmoil and pain, when the economy was still bad even though the civil rights movement had made progress. Its roots were in resistance to a racist media and a racist society in general. The main idea behind Soul Train's music is to give Black people power, and they say it in a happy, relaxed way. Fans' favorite Soul Train performer Louis Skikar talks about how music and dancing marked his age. "I was raised in the streets of Inglewood, where I have mixed Black and Mexican ancestry. On Saturday mornings, I would get together with my people to celebrate our own dancing styles, times, and fads." Don Cornelius was none other than the official host and executive director of Soul Train. Both too many reports of Black crime and too few reports of police abuse annoyed Cornelius, along with the desire to change how African Americans are portrayed in the media. So, teenagers moving to the newest music on American Bandstand, an hour-long segment on the ABC network show, inspired Cornelius to come up with ideas for his own TV show because he wanted to see more positive and real images of African Americans in media. Every day after school, teens from the area waited in line outside the network building while Cornelius looked for talent, eagerly awaiting the chance to dance on screen. Black Chicago was given a show that was meant to celebrate the wide range of Black talent. This did more than just talk about the serious lack of representation. Welcome to the Soul Train. You're right on time for a lovely ride. In 1971, the show made its national debut with a bold and bright new set that went with the new location and the main phrase. Soon, the artists were asking to be on Soul Train instead of the other way around. When they were at the top of their game, famous artists like Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder played. Wonder even made up a new song just for the event. The Jackson 5 were big stars on the show, and they were on it a lot. In the beginning, artists would lip-sync their hits while taking tapes. Don Cornelius finally got it, though. Live acts were what made the show fun and interesting. Due to this, amazing things happened. When Al Green played a beautiful show even though he had a broken arm, or when Barry White led a 40-piece orchestra. In a flashy purple outfit, James Brown even joined the dancers on the floor. Over the next few years, Cornelius showed non-Black artists a lot of kindness. Let soulful artists like Elton John and David Bowie play on stage. A lot of dancers' and artists' lives were changed by Soul Train. Jeffrey Daniel, a famous dancer, once said that Soul Train felt very personal to me. It started my whole career, but more importantly, it summed up the spirit of Black American kids. In front of and behind the camera, Cornelius made sure that the show gave Black artists confidence. He put together a group of Black experts from across the company to make sure that people of color could get opportunities. Pam Brown was in charge of booking performers for the show. She would look for dancers with unique styles in Los Angeles leisure centers. Cornelius was amazed and sometimes shocked by the brave and creative dance styles that came from California. He quickly put together a group of skilled dancers who were known for their unique styles. Soul dancers looked beautiful, but their lives were very hard. The dancers taped 4 shows in 2 days on Saturday and Sunday. That's 2 weeks worth of episodes in just one weekend. They had to have a lot of energy, bring a lot of different clothes, and be able to keep going for a long time. It wasn't paid unless they did a show with an artist. Since the show's stated goal was to showcase Black talent, this flaw seemed out of place. The Soul subway line was one of the most memorable and well-known parts of the show. There was a new part added in the second season where dancers would line up in 2 rows to make a channel in the middle, then pair up to show off their moves. The line was the star of the show because it let each dancer show off their skills. In contrast to group dancing, where dancers often compete for camera time, each dancer on the Soul Train line got individual attention. Many of the dancers used their time in the spotlight to show off their athletic skills, props, or unique style. The Soul Train line was more than just a dance routine. It was a memorable and loved part of the show. It turned into a standalone culture event. It was the perfect example of Soul Train's peak in terms of emotion, creativity, and charisma. One of Soul Train's lasting effects is how it changed dancing. The program not only showed off current trends, it also made them. Funk, breakdancing, and hip-hop were all influenced by the popping, locking, ticking, and whacking dance moves that were created on Soul Train. Michael Jackson learned the backslide from dancer Jeffrey Daniel and called it the moonwalk. He then learned the now iconic robot routine from the show. These moves started it all on Soul Train and went on to define whole eras of pop culture. Soul Train dancer Jeffrey Daniel talked about how the show changed his life. "I saw black teens my age moving and looking great on TV, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head. In the years before that, the only times we were on TV, we were either being chased by the cops, selling drugs, or in a silly comedy. After that, being a part of that program has been my life's main goal. The clothes Soul Train wore were just as famous as the dance moves they did. It was easy to spot the dancers and artists because they wore bright colors, bold patterns, and new styles. Soul Train brought black fashion to the US by showing off styles like chains, platform shoes, dashikis, and bell-bottoms. Jeffrey Daniel said that the show's clothes were a great reflection of the time because they were relaxed, colorful, and expressive. Prior to Soul Train, black artists were often left out or given bad names by the media. The play changed the story by showing off the skills of young black people and giving a lively, upbeat picture of black Americans. The author and host of the show, Don Cornelius, put together a group of black actors and actresses to make sure that people of color had chances in every part of production. Asian artists like Cheryl Song were also able to break down race barriers on Soul Train. For 14 years, Cheryl was an important part of the show, even though her co-workers didn't believe her at first. Her experience showed how Soul Train has stuck to its original goal of celebrating difference and showcasing the talent of black people. Soul Train didn't have an opinion on politics, but it did talk about the wins and losses of the time. The 1970s were a rough time in America, with fights over school segregation and rising poverty in inner cities. In this setting, Soul Train's happy and proud songs stood out. Unproud songs stood out. In shows like Soul Train Scramble Board, black history figures like Phyllis Wheatley and Harriet Tubman were emphasized. Working with the hair care brand Afro Sheen, which is owned by black people, on the show helped the cause of natural black beauty. Soul Train helped spread the idea that black people are beautiful by airing ads with Afro Sheen and supporting natural haircuts. Everyone will be thrilled now with Soul Train's amazing acts. Of course, the start is the best place to start. The first show, which played across the country on October 2, 1971, had Gladys Knight and the Pips as guests. Not only did Don Cornelius's enthusiastic welcome of the band make their show legendary, but so did the music. In his usually upbeat baritone voice, he called the group a formidable mountain of soul that could slay people. Soul Train would have a huge impact on history, and that moment set the stage for it. Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 performed Dancing Machine at Soul Train in 1973. It was one of the most famous moments in the history of the show. The show they gave on Soul Train made the already legendary music even more famous. It went to number 2 on the pop charts and number 1 on the earthy R&B charts. In this performance, Michael showed off the now iconic robot dance for the first time. Seeing the king of pop do the robot dance so well opened my eyes and cemented its place in pop culture. Even though many people have tried it before, this act shows the right way to do the move. This is really cool, true, and interesting. When the famous Trio LaBelle sang Lady Marmalade on Soul Train in December 1975, it added a whole new level of energy to the show. It wasn't just music, it said something. And the shocking silver future clothes that Sarah Dash, Nona Hendryx, and Patti LaBelle wore on the Soul Train stage almost made Afrofuturism possible. Thanks to their risky approach and catchy, funk-filled hit song, the show and music history will never be the same. The only time Soul Train could pull off that kind of moment was when art, music, and dress all came together. The show by Al Green in 1974 was one of these great moments. A 27-year-old artist named Al Green wowed the crowd with his natural ability and charm while singing live, which is different from the show's usual singers who lip-sync. Green had a spiritually vibrant and irresistible energy when she performed. She wore bright platform shoes and held a long-stemmed rose in one hand. People were spellbound by his 7 minutes of what could only be called sacred sex appeal. Because of this kind of act, Soul Train was labeled as an event rather than a music show. Another innovative thing Soul Train did was invite white artists, which wasn't common at the time. One such event was David Bowie's show on November 4, 1975. Bowie's stress finally got the best of him, since he hadn't learned the words by heart. His acts were so shaky that they had to be re-recorded several times. Even though the show had a rough start, Bowie's showing showed how it was becoming more important and ready to question social rules. The story goes that Don Cornelius had an honest conversation with Bowie off stage and told him that Soul Train would not stand for failure. Soul Train ended too, as all good things do. Numerous fans were upset with its final goodbye. Others are thinking about the reason why it stopped. When Soul Train moved into the 1980s and beyond, the music business started to change. Quickly, hip-hop took over, and with it came acts that more traditional watchers of the show found unsettling. One such event was the now famous Milli Vanilli show in 1989. Don Cornelius put them on the map as the first big European rap stars. After a few months, though, it was found that the two hadn't actually played any original songs. They pretended to sing together. It was bad for Soul Train's image because of this. In 1975, David Bowie did something else that caused a lot of trouble. The London singer, who is strange and breaks up relationships, got up nervous and drunk, messing up his singing and needing several takes to finish his set. Don Cornelius, who is a stickler, was said to be annoyed with Bowie behind the scenes. After these events, Soul Train's carefully built image began to fall apart. Things went wrong with the show even behind the scenes. Some dancers thought their work wasn't being appreciated, which made things worse between the managers and the dancers. A lot of the Soul Train dancers weren't paid enough, even though they were the show's heart and created great moves and trends. This caused conflict to rise and some important group members quit. As the music business changed, Soul Train also had trouble getting A-list artists. As rival networks like MTV and BT became more popular, many musicians chose to appear on these more modern channels that were popular with the growing hip-hop audience. Soul Train had a lot of problems because they didn't change with the times. By the mid-1980s, fashion, music, and pop culture had changed a lot. Soul Train was a big deal in the 1970s, but by the 1980s it was old too. Younger fans liked shows that took hip-hop and urban culture in a more modern way. Longtime creative head of Soul Train, Don Cornelius, had a hard time getting into the new music style. He refused to include hip-hop in the show because he didn't understand it. Because of this gap, Soul Train felt cut off from its old fans. People quit watching as these problems got worse. Longtime fans of Soul Train talked about the good old days, but they didn't watch the show every week. Younger people were watching shows that seemed more like real life. Soul Train wasn't as magical as it used to be, which is why many people watched it every Saturday morning. Even though it was hard, Don Cornelius quit as host in 1993. That was a perfect way to say goodbye with Love, Peace, and Soul, his last record. It's no longer just a host that Cornelius is responsible for. He was, in a word, the program's heart. There was a hole that no one could fill when he left. People who took over for him did a good job, but Soul Train just wasn't the same without him. What's more, Cornelius's leaving brought attention to a problem. He saw what Soul Train could be. When he wasn't there, the show had trouble finding story points. The show's original excitement started to fade as problems grew behind the scenes for the team. Around the middle of the 2000s, it was clear that Soul Train was losing ground to other music labels. The show quietly stopped in 2006 with its last episode after 35 years on TV. Fans were saddened by the loss, and many thought about the end of an iconic event. From its start in 1970 to its end in 2006, Soul Train brought happiness and motivation to millions of fans. Nowadays, its impact is still unmatched. Many people think that no other show has ever been able to match Soul Train in terms of how much it changed culture. Fans still talk about Soul Train with a lot of love and good memories. One fan online said that it was more than just a show. It was a way of life. As someone else put it, Soul Train made me feel proud to be an American. Everyone loved our music and our skills, and it was the one place where we could really shine. These touching comments show how much the show affected people. Soul Train was special because it brought people together. There was more to see than just concerts by famous people like Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, and Aretha Franklin. The most important things were how lively the show was and how happy it made everyone who watched it. Because of the show, everyone felt like they were a part of something huge and important. What the Soul Train shows did was become a symbol of this unity, a place to dance where everyone, from any background or identity, could have fun and show off their best moves. Soul Train was so popular that since it stopped, no other show has even come close. It wasn't just choreography and shows, it was all about happiness, pride, and coming together. At a time when such sites weren't popular, it gave Black dancers and artists a way to be seen and appreciated. One die-hard fan said, "There will never be a Soul Train 2.0. This kind of show has never been seen before." Soul Train's end took away an important part of the music and TV businesses. Later, younger acts have tried to bring back the magic, but they have all failed. Don Cornelius's charisma, the new acting, and the genuine excitement of the performance are all precious. Soul Train has had an impact on many areas of popular culture, from the music videos of today to the newest dance styles seen on TikTok. The show had a lasting effect on Black society around the world, as shown by the stars it created and the trends it started. If you were lucky enough to ride Soul Train, you will always remember how much fun it was. A fondness for the show, the acts, and that time period will always be present. One fan said Soul Train was a blessing to society, and its effects will last forever. Everyone who watched the show will always remember how special it was because no other show was ever the same.